Sophie, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Louisa. And hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I've had a lot of coffee this morning, so I'm bringing the energy. So if anyone's in a lunch, post-lunch slump, don't worry. I'm going to come at you with lots of energy, caffeine fueled today. So some of you might have been in the workshop with me last Tuesday where we talked about visual storytelling. So if you were, welcome back. And if not, I'm Fee Freeman and I'm the founder and principal at Fee Freeman Consulting. Today, we are talking about engaging your board in peer-to-peer fundraising for GAgives on Giving Tuesday. So I'm sure we're going to have lots of exciting conversation and discussion today. And like Louisa said, we'll have lots of time for questions, hopefully, as well, and a little bit of space for us to chat about our work with boards as well. And just in case anyone wasn't with us last week, this is my little bio. I'm not going to read it all out. You will get a copy of the slides and everything. But I've got over a decade of experience in nonprofits across two continents. I'm originally from Scotland, so I've had privilege to do a lot of work in Europe as well. And I'm really focused on ethical storytelling, digital fundraising, communication strategy, donor communications, all that good stuff, and advocacy communications as well. And part of my consulting work, I do a lot of fundraising training for boards. So hopefully I'll have some good insight to share with you all today. I've also served on a board before. So I've been nonprofit staff, I've been a nonprofit consultant, and I've been a nonprofit board member. So I like to say I've got a full 360 of the chaos that is nonprofit life. But I'm going to definitely talk a little bit about my experience doing peer-to-peer fundraising as a board member today as well, which might be helpful as well. And I'm sure some of you are also board members, right? Like those of us who work in the nonprofit space, we have the tendency to put too much on our plates sometimes. So I'm sure some of you also have volunteer roles on boards of directors as well. Thank you for your work there. And I've got a master's in political communication. I'm a political comms person at heart. My undergrad's in journalism with a minor in human rights. And I'm also a faculty member here at Nonprofit University at the Georgia Centre for Nonprofits. Just wanted to do a little plug for my certificate of digital fundraising, which I teach. This is coming up in October. This is a paid for course with Nonprofit University, but it's really a deep dive into all things online fundraising and campaigns. And it's timed in October so that you can get ready for Giving Tuesday, which is coming up on December 3rd this year. So if you are interested in this, I'll drop the link to it in the chat. And then the folks at NU and GCN can always answer any questions about that. But I teach all four of these classes. This is my magnum opus of all things digital fundraising. And it'll really help you get set up for GAgives. So if you are interested in that, we'd love to see you all there as well. But without further ado, wanted to do a little overview. We're talking a lot about peer-to-peer fundraising today, so I just wanted to make sure we were all sort of on the same page about the different types of fundraising, the sort of definitions of the things that we're talking about. So, number one most common type of digital fundraising is crowdfunding, right? That's what we're talking about with GAgives and Giving Tuesday more broadly. It's when we as a nonprofit organization are asking supporters to give directly to us to a campaign. So we're just asking the crowd to give crowdfunding. You might also see stuff like that where we have individuals raising money for a cause or a person. So sometimes people do, like a fundraising page for study abroad trips or for medical expenses or for things like that. We see that a lot as well. So that's the idea of crowdfunding, just that we're asking the general public, the audience at large, to give to our campaign. Then we have peer-to-peer fundraising. So for us as nonprofits, that looks like is social fundraising that really relies on us reaching out to our supporters and asking them to reach out to their networks on our behalf. So we're sort of all the people that are in our inner circle, that's our board members, our volunteers, our interns, things like that. They're reaching out to their family and friends and asking them to give to them as part of a wider campaign. And what that looks like logistically, especially for GAgives, where we use the Mighty Cause platform, is that your nonprofit organization is going to have its main campaign page with your overall goal for your campaign, and then you're going to have individual peer-to-peer pages within that wider campaign page. So I'm sure you've seen that before. I will show you an example of what that looks like. And oftentimes peer-to-peer fundraising is connected to events, right? So I think what we're probably most familiar with is like sponsored walks or sponsored runs or golf tournaments and things like that, where we have our individual pages that are sort of feeding into the wider goal of the organization. This is what it looks like. So this is your Mighty Cause platform, your nonprofit's GAgive page. You're asking people to give directly to your campaign. And then on the right, peer-to-peer, that's where we've got those individual fundraising pages that all have their own goals. And those goals can be whatever is meaningful to the person that is raising the funds, right? But that all feeds into your wider campaign goal as well. Thankfully, one of the really good things about the Mighty Cause platform as well is that all these peer-to-peer donors, all the family and friends of the people who are raising money on your behalf, you get their contact info. And that's one of the great things about peer-to-peer fundraising, is that you're going to get all the email addresses, mailing addresses, all the information from those people given to those peer-to-peer pages. So you're going to be able to thank them properly via email, via letter, and you're going to be able to add them to your mailing list as well. So you're going to continue to cultivate your relationship with those donors after they've given as part of this campaign. So that's one of the great things about peer-to-peer, is you can reach new audiences for your list, and more people you can keep up to date about the great work that you are doing. Another couple just things to note, other types of digital fundraising. We have what we call DIY fundraising, which is really very similar to peer-to-peer, but I would say less structured, more open and ongoing. Sometimes we call it surprise fundraising, where you didn't know someone was raising money on your behalf and you just find out and you had no real say or input in it, but it's happening. A lot of the times that is Facebook fundraisers, social media fundraisers, things like that. I'm sure some of you have folks who do that for you. I would say I wouldn't recommend Facebook as a platform for fundraising. I know sometimes it's easy and it's convenient. So if you do have folks who like to do that, I understand. But the one negative thing about that is you don't get the contact info of the people who give to those Facebook fundraisers, right? So we really want to try and use the Mighty Cause platform and GAgives, or whatever other fundraising platforms you use year round, just because you really want to capture that information about those people. And then lastly, I just want us to sort of make sure we're thinking more broadly about the term peer-to-peer, especially when it comes to our board and GAgives on Giving Tuesday, is that even if someone doesn't set up their own page and have their own goal and do it very formally, sharing of your campaign and sharing your posts and sharing your messages is also a form of peer-to-peer fundraising, right? So if you as an organization are posting about GAgives on Giving Tuesday, we want our board members to be sharing those posts, right? That's the bare minimum, right? Sharing the posts, spreading the word, because in that sense, it's really not about the donation amount. It's about the passion that the person has for your organization and the way they convey that to other people, right? People give to people. I say that all the time. So when you have these people, board members, right, they're so invested in your organization. When they can share their passion and their care about your organization and the work that you do together, that's going to inspire other people to give, right? So that's the sort of lowest hanging fruit of all, is asking people to share and spread the word about your campaign. So hopefully we can get some people doing actual peer-to-peer pages with their own goal, but the bare minimum we want to see is them sharing the posts from your page, whether that's on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. We want them to be uplifting your message and spreading the word about your campaign. So a couple more notes on peer-to-peer fundraising. It's essentially, the way I like to think about it is peer-to-peer fundraising is really a digital version of word of mouth marketing, right? And I always tell this anecdote, but one of the first nonprofits I worked at, we used to have a board member who would appear in my office whenever she fancied, right? Whenever she was in the building, she would come in and she would say, Fee, I want an info packet. I want your folders with your program materials. I want an info packet. And she would keep a little stash of them in her car. And when she would be out and about, if she would talk about the work with the nonprofit, she would hand over our little info packet with our papers and our information about our nonprofit, like annual reports and things like that. And peer-to-peer fundraising is really the digital version of that, right? Giving your board members the tools, the resources that they can reach out to people in their networks and invite them to join them in the work of supporting your nonprofit organization. For this reason, I would say it's a very authentic way to raise awareness of your mission and attract new supporters, right? So like I said, you're going to get the contact info of all those people. You're going to add them to your mailing list. You're going to send them your newsletters. You're going to invite them to follow you on social media. And hopefully you can sort of capture a relationship and develop a relationship with these new donors as well. It's very authentic. People give to people. So by your board members trusting you and investing their time in you, their friends and family are going to see you as a worthwhile cause as well. And again, today, obviously, we're focusing on engaging your board, but everything we talk about today is really applicable to volunteers as well. But this is a way for you to deepen your relationships with these folks, right? Your board members are already invested in your organization, but once they participate in this kind of thing, and they can, even if it's their first time, even if they're nervous about it, once they start to fundraise on your behalf and see success with it, they're going to feel even more invested. And the conversations that you have with them on the way are going to deepen that relationship as well. And this is also a really good way to grow that culture of philanthropy in your organization, right? Some of us feel uncomfortable talking about money sometimes, or the need to fundraise. I know I've met a lot of board members through my work who are like, oh, I don't really like the fundraising, or I don't like asking people for money. And we have to remember that we're not asking people for money in a transactional way. We're inviting people to make a difference and join us in doing this good work, right? And raise funds for worthwhile causes. And through doing this process and talking to your board about peer-to-peer fundraising, it's a really good way to grow that culture of philanthropy, sort of demystify the fundraising piece of it. And really important as well that we want to strike a balance between equipping and empowering our board members here, right, to cultivate their networks. So we do need to provide tools. We're going to take a little look at toolkits and what that might entail. But we also want to empower people to share their own personal why, right? What's their story? Why do they care? Why do they support your organization? So just want you to think about that balance between equipping and providing the tools, but also empowering them, not making it feel too rigid. We're not too worried about branding and messaging. We want to partner for them to share their personal story. That's going to be what makes the most compelling peer-to-peer campaign. So board engagement for GAgives. A couple of notes here. I'm going to be quite strict about this. So I want you all to be strict with your boards. 100% board giving is a must for all nonprofits, right? Like if you do not have 100% board giving, then we need to rectify that immediately. It's really important that you have that. A lot of grant applications and foundations and things ask about that. It shows that your board is properly committed to your organization and the work that you do. And I want to be really clear as well that board giving, it doesn't have to be at a certain amount. I'm sure you all have structures and rules and things in place with your board, but really giving an amount that is personally meaningful to the board member is the most equitable way to do this, right? Because we want to have diverse boards. We want to have boards that reflect different experiences, different backgrounds, different areas of expertise, right? Some of us might have boards that have, Home Depot, Delta, Coca-Cola, the big execs on there, right? But some of us, we don't just want to have corporate executives on our board, right? We want diverse boards. We want boards that maybe represent some of the community members that we serve, right? So I think that's something we should think about in terms of board giving commitment. And if you want to talk more about that, we can later if anyone has quick questions. But giving an amount that's personally meaningful, whether that's $20 or $20,000, it's still 100% board giving, right? It just shows that investment in the organization. GAgives is genuinely low-hanging fruit for getting your board members involved in fundraising, right? Like I know, trust me, a lot of board members are reluctant about fundraising. It makes them nervous, it makes them uncomfortable. But GAgives is a perfect opportunity for everybody to get involved and really get the board sort of rallied around this campaign. There are two ways that I would suggest you present GAgives as an opportunity to your board. If you haven't already had a conversation about this with your board, that October board meeting is coming up. let's make sure we're focused on fundraising. So 2 ways that they can contribute. I would give everybody 2 options. These 2 options also allow for people from different sort of giving capacities, different socioeconomic backgrounds to still contribute to the campaign. So number one, your board members can contribute to a GAgives board match, right? The Mighty Cause platform has a tool where you can add a matching gift so that when other people give, it shows, that their donation is doubled. So your a board match is a great incentive to kick off your campaign or close out your campaign. It could be a $20,000 match. It could be a $500 match, whatever it is, whatever capacity you're working at. If you've got a board of 10 to 15 people, if everybody contributes something, again, something that's meaningful to them towards that matching gift, then you're going to come up with a nice gift, round it out to maybe not $447, but maybe a $500 gift. Let's round it out, whatever it is. Have your board match, and then you can talk about that in your communications as well. You can say we have a board match. It's live, starting November 1st or November 3rd or whenever you want to start your campaign. And your gifts will be matched dollar for dollar up to $1,000, up to $5,000 by our board match, right? So that's one option for the board to participate in. That might be good for people who have a little bit more disposable income, who might say, yeah, I'm going to contribute $500 myself or $1,000 myself towards this match. Second option, if people are not, and also you can anonymize this, right? People don't have to do this and commit an amount at the board meeting. They can talk to you, your development director, afterwards. But the other option is for people to create a peer-to-peer fundraising page on your Mighty Cause platform, on that GAgives page, and set a personal fundraising goal. Again, something that's meaningful to them. It could be $500, it could be $200. And what that allows is for that board member to still contribute financially to the campaign, but through their networks, right? So if you don't have the net worth to make a $500 gift yourself, you can ask a few different people for $20 gifts, $50 gifts, right? And then together, that's going to amount up to a peer-to-peer goal on the page. So I would present that as 2 options to your board. And not really the option to not participate is not there, right? We either contribute to the matching gift or we do a peer-to-peer fundraising page and we raise towards that. And I think presenting it in that way, and again, October board meeting, let's have this conversation, help people understand and get excited about GAgives. It's on Giving Tuesday. It's an international day of giving, where everybody around the world really participates in giving back to nonprofits. So this is a great low-hanging fruit entryway into getting your board engaged with your fundraising. It's a great kickoff to year-end giving season. So I think we're going to pause the recording. Thank you, Louisa. Going to keep going through a few more slides, and we'll have some more questions, time for questions and stuff at the end. But wanted to share a few more ideas for moving your board to action. So a couple of these I've mentioned already. Definitely discuss frequently at board meetings. Hopefully you have a development committee or a development committee chair, fundraising, advancement. Hopefully they report out monthly, but we do want to be talking, or quarterly, whatever it is, but we do want to be talking about fundraising regularly, year round, and especially at year end. So October, November meetings, whatever you've got coming up, definitely talk about GAgives and Giving Tuesday as the kickoff to your year-end giving season, and include a strong call to action, right? We need to be bold, again, radical candor. We need to be bold and direct with our board. Fundraise or share, right? Create a fundraiser or share this campaign, contribute to a matching gift, whatever it is. Just let them know how they can be effective and helpful and what you need from them. We want to avoid any miscommunication. In-person and or virtual training for boards can be very helpful. A lot of the work I do with boards is fundraising training because it's difficult and people aren't used to it and all that stuff. But, if you're together at a board meeting, maybe incorporate some fundraising 101, right? Asking for gifts 101, how to run a successful peer-to-peer page, show people how to do the campaign, right? How to set up their page, how to share posts on social media, and meet people where they are, right? Like if I'm going to imagine a lot of your board members, aren't going to be super familiar with doing peer-to-peer fundraising. So I would propose an idea that you set up their pages for them. I know that's time consuming, and some of you might be like one person in the whole staff. Some of you might be smaller orgs, but I have heard from a few folks in recent classes I've taught where they've had a board meeting and they've set aside 30 minutes and they'd already created peer-to-peer pages on the Mighty Cause platform for their board members, and they just went in everyone's laptop and set them up and logged them in and was like, here's your page, let's adjust this, let's add some personal stuff here, what is your goal? And they've set it up for them. So just consider that it's something you can do if people do want to do a peer-to-peer fundraiser, set up their page for them. There are instructions. I'll share some actually, they're in the slides. Instructions on how to do it on the Mighty Cause platform, but honestly, sometimes it's just easier just to do it for people. And maybe that's not the sort of teach a person to fish idea, but sometimes we just need to get things done. So if meet people where they are, though, you might have someone who's really enthusiastic about it, they feel good about it, they know what they're doing, that's fine, but just see where individuals are at. We don't want to exclude anyone from participating because of technology or unfamiliarity or anything like that. Board spotlights for social media. So this is my one thing I would really suggest you do with your board is rather than just asking them to share, we do want them to share our general campaign messages and posts and stuff like that. But I think we all know that things that we like to share on social media are usually, especially LinkedIn and stuff, things we're proud of, things that make us look good, right? So I think doing a little board spotlight over October, November is a great opportunity for you to get your board, give them something they actually want to share, right? So what that might look like is a Canva graphic. Some folks have already mentioned using Canva, that's great. A little Canva graphic, a picture of the board member, which you can get from the board members themselves, a picture of them with some text over it, maybe with a quote from them, and then in your caption, a bit of a longer quote. Ask your board members why the organization is important to them. Why should people give and support your GAgives campaign? Ask them a couple questions, either in person or via email. Get those quotes from them. And then make a little spotlight, right? Thank them so much. And then you post that on your page. You say, this is our board member, Sally. Sally believes that blah, 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 whatever Sally said about why your organization is important. And we're so grateful to Sally and her commitment to our organization. She's been on the board for X amount of years. Please join her and others in the community in supporting us this GAgives on Giving Tuesday, right? And when you share that, you're going to tag Sally on LinkedIn. You're going to email that post. You're going to email links to all those posts to Sally. You're going to say, Sally, we've just posted your spotlight. Thank you so much. Please share this, and that's probably the most easy to share thing for the board, right? Something about them, something about why they support your organization and the good work they do. It's got a nice picture. It's got a nice quote. So board spotlights, if that's the only thing you do, I would do that in October and November. Get your board sharing about your org on social media. And then another thing here, we mentioned a little bit already, peer-to-peer toolkits with resources. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of toolkits, but generally, and I'm sure you've seen them before, generally peer-to-peer toolkits include sample emails, sample social posts, maybe text messages. If not text messages, I would definitely add those. Those are something I've started adding to toolkits because I realized myself as a board member that I was really reaching out to people by text. I don't email my friends, right? I email people about work, but I don't email my friends. I text them, right? So, or I message them on social media. So those shorter messages, good to have samples for that too. Maybe a template fundraising page, language, graphics, videos, maybe whatever you have, other campaign assets. Maybe you have frequently asked questions in there as well. I'm going to check the chat real quick. Oh, that's great. Thanks for that definition, Mary, about junior boards. I like the personal spotlights idea. We'll definitely do this. Awesome. Yeah, honestly, it's just like nice. And also, if you go on Instagram, search the hashtag board spotlights, like hashtag board spotlights. or board spotlight, I guess. And there's so many examples, right? So you can find a ton of examples on there to give you ideas and like for Canva graphics and quotes and stuff like that. But yeah, if you can do that October and November and share, just get a nice picture of your board member and put that in a graphic in Canva with a little bit of a caption, and they'll share that. That's the one thing they will definitely share because it makes them look good. If you're doing it on, I mean, I would post it on all platforms, but if you're doing it on LinkedIn, tag their company, tag them on LinkedIn as well. Maybe not on Instagram. Like I probably wouldn't tag people individually on like more private social, but on LinkedIn, tag the board member, tag the board member's company, and see what sharing you can get done there. So I'm glad you like that idea. Mary, thank you for the definitions. You've got the answers. Thank you. We've got lots of knowledge here in the chat. Appreciate it. So yeah, love the board spotlight idea. Something I'm going to be working on with some of my clients over the next couple months. So definitely do that. And yeah, peer-to-peer toolkit. We're going to look at a couple of examples. I'm going to say there's about 3 options for your peer-to-peer toolkit. You could do a PDF or a Word document, right? Like here's an example one. The links to these are also in the slides, so you'll have those as well. You could just do a document that you house on your website or you send to people, why should you fundraise with us, getting started, instructions, things like that. This is the most basic option, although it's sort of, you're not really able to provide graphics and images and stuff like that. So I'd probably wouldn't do this exclusively, but it is an option. You could also do a page on your website with links. The Red Cross has a very robust peer-to-peer toolkit on their website where they have all the different tabs and things like that. If you're with a larger organization that has web developers or folks to make a page like this for you, that's an option. You could also, but my preferred toolkit of choice is a Google Drive or a Dropbox folder, right? Because then, like how we share the materials for Nonprofit University and for classes we do here, a Google Drive is pretty good because you can have your documents in there, you can have images in there, you can have photos, you can have logos, whatever you want. And this is linked in the slides as well, so you can have this. There's how to start a fundraiser instructions. Feel free to borrow these from the toolkit or anything you like. Sample messaging, tips for promoting. So you can put documents together as guides. You can provide some social media graphics, things like that. If you do your board spotlights, you can put board spotlights in here. Also, whenever your board is all together, take pictures of your board. If you have in-person meetings, take a picture together. If you have a gala, make sure you have a picture of your board. If your board gets involved in other ways, gets their hands dirty, does some, or even volunteers, when you're doing stuff with volunteers or big groups, make sure you take pictures, make sure you give them to people. Because again, we like to share things about ourselves on social media. It feels a little bit more natural than just sharing a graphic or a post or something like that. So pictures of your board in action, the board spotlights, you can put all of that in your folder as well. So I'm going to show you a really quick case study. I mentioned before toolkit versus DIY. So when I was a board member, I was a board member of a national nonprofit called Green Card Voices. And I was also the development committee chair of this board. At the time, the organization did not have committed development staff. So I was doing a lot of development work for the board. And for 1 year, I was doing a peer-to-peer fundraiser for Giving Tuesday. And I helped to create the toolkit that we provided to the board to make peer-to-peer fundraisers. And I created it with my nonprofit hat on. And then as a board member, put my board member hat on and went to create my page. And I was like, this feels a little uncomfortable. I was like, this doesn't really sound like me. This feels a bit odd. And I thought it was an interesting sort of experience to see it from both sides. So I want to share a little bit. So this was what the org campaign page looked like. It was on the Mighty Cause platform. These are the graphics that were on the page. The goal was $10,000. This was a graphic about the campaign. You scrolled down a little bit. It had a list of 1, 2, 3 things that the goal was going to contribute towards with pictures. So that was, good information on there. Then this is the toolkit we put together. Now, bear in mind, I helped put this toolkit together, right? I really did. We had sample emails, dear, I'm a proud board member of Green Card Voices as we continue to change the narrative around immigration, blah, blah, blah. This was the email example, right? So I literally helped put this toolkit together. There was the graphics, we had images here, impact, things like that. We had a couple of short messages here with these text messages. I can't remember. Happy holidays during a season of giving. It's so important to give back and support our community. So we made this toolkit. And then when I went to make my page, I was like, well, that doesn't really sound like me, does it? Like during a season of giving feels so organizational, right? And I realized that when we've got our nonprofit org hats on and we write appeals, right? And this is the kind of way we talk to our supporters as an organization. And that's fine because we've got our organization hat on. But I think for toolkits, it doesn't really often work. So when I put my page together, this is my peer-to-peer page. I didn't quite meet my goal, but that's okay. I set a goal of raising $500. I didn't use any of the graphics. The picture I chose was me with some of my fellow board members at a gala. So we had a group photo from the gala, board and staff. And this is the picture. I just added the logo to it in Canva. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Then I said, friends, I'm proud to serve as a board member for the incredible Green Card Voices. Please join me this Giving Tuesday. Make a donation of any amount to help me raise $500. Then I did take their list of things the money would go towards. So that was helpful to have. So something to think about, a bulleted list of 3 things that the funds raised will go towards. I like that. I took that. And then I scrolled down a little bit. And then I decided Green Card Voices makes books, first person immigrant stories. So I thought I've got a ton of copies in my bookshelf. I was like, I'm going to give books away to random people who donate. I'm going to make my own little incentive. So again, I just decided to do this. I'll send a copy of my favorite book to 2 lucky donors to my fundraiser. Thank you so much. No donation amount is too small. Fee. Right? So none of that was in the toolkit, really. Just those 3 bullet points here I took. That was the only thing I took. And then that was my page. Then this is my actual outreach I did. I didn't send an email. I haven't sent an email to one of my friends since 2009, I don't think. So I actually posted on Instagram. I didn't post any of the graphics again because I felt when I went to do it, I was like, well, my feed on my Instagram, I like it to look a certain way. I want nice pictures on there. I don't know if I want a graphic in there. That feels a bit weird. So I just took a picture of the book that I wanted to give to people in front of my lovely bookcase that we see behind me. And I said, friends, I'm proud to serve as a board member. This is pretty much what's on the page. I know how great of an impact these funds will have, including helping to publish an anthology of 30 powerful stories of newly arrived Afghan youth. And you can give directly at the link in my bio, through some hashtags in there. And then I sent a text message to one of my friends. And this is someone that I was planning to meet up for lunch. It was right after Thanksgiving. I said, dear Duncan, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. It's my favorite day, Giving Tuesday, because also when you're texting your friend asking for money, they know what it is. Like, this is a friend who works in the nonprofit space too. He knows what I'm about to ask. Like, we don't need to be shy about it. I've set a goal of raising $500 for the amazing Green Card Voices. I'm proud to serve as a board member, yada, yada. No gift is too small, and I'm only $175 away from my goal. Thanks for considering, and I'll look forward to catching up with you in December. There's the link, and I threw in some emojis. So that's really that's my friend. Like, that's how I talk to my friend, right? So I put in a little bit of language, but I was also being a little bit more personable, and again, people give to people, right? So he's not super familiar with the organization, but and also I chose who I reached out to, right? I reached out to my friends who are in dual income households who I know do give to other nonprofits, right? Like, I have some friends who aren't really involved in philanthropy. They don't really have the disposable income for that. So I didn't reach out to them. I'm not trying to make anyone feel guilty, right? And then also the post on social media, I had 2 donations that really surprised me. One was from somebody who who hired me to do a training 2 years ago, and I haven't seen forever, gave a donation. And then someone who's another former colleague who I wouldn't have reached out to, but she just gave. And guess what? a few months later, she was doing a fundraiser for a nonprofit that she's a board member of. And I gave to that nonprofit, right? And that's something you see a lot. Like a lot of the times with peer to peer fundraising, if you give to someone's campaign, if you're then sharing a campaign later, they're going to give back. It's reciprocal, right? It's more about, and now I get emails from them nonprofit, right? And I'm on their mailing list and they keep up with me. So it's like, it's just that, like, that's just one of the cultural things around peer to peer is like that reciprocating the giving. If my friend Duncan asked me to give to a peer-to-peer campaign for the nonprofit he now works at, I would say yes, I would give immediately, right? Because it's like you remember who supports your campaigns, right? It's the same. I'm sure lots of you do like races and sponsored walks and stuff like that. It's like the same folks. But when you share on social, sometimes you get surprise folks in there as well, and people you weren't expecting to give. And I'll also say as well that I set a goal of $500. My husband and I each made $100 gift to kick it off, right? So for me, I was like, I don't have the capacity to give $500, but I think my husband and I can each give $100 and start it off with a $200 gift, right? So I could have just made a $200 gift to the nonprofit, but instead I used that to kind of launch my peer-to-peer campaign and was able to raise, just shy of $500 through like maybe another 5 people, 5, 6 people. So really interesting to me when I did that, like the surprise donations through social media, the text message, like just sort of just going with it, right? And like just sort of being a bit more human with it. And um, not too organizational. So with that being said, we've only got a couple minutes left, but I would love to have us all share some text examples if you wouldn't mind. Like if we could take a couple minutes to write a text message that you would send to a close friend or family member to ask them to donate to your own peer-to-peer campaign or your org's campaign, right? So just imagine you're doing a peer-to-peer for GAgives for your org, or if you already know, hey, we need to raise this much money. If you already got a campaign in mind, use that as an example. If not, you can do a pretend campaign. Just make something up. Don't forget to include your link to your campaign page. Again, you can just make something up, like insert link here. But I would love for you to just like take a couple minutes, think about how you would ask a friend, a mentor, a former colleague, a family member to give to your campaign, and just type that up and drop it in the chat so we can see some examples. Because I think whatever you come up with there, I want you to take the spirit of that into your toolkits, right? Like for short social media messages, short text messages, I would put your time and effort into those short messages over and above long emails. Because I think what we do a lot of the time is we just sort of take a version of the email that we're sending to our donor lists to solicit, and then we give that, and it's not the same. And it took me to actually doing the peer-to-peer campaign to really realize that. So take a couple seconds, share me a little sample text message in the chat so we can all see some ideas, get inspired, and then we can round off. We'll read through those and we can do any other questions. I'm happy to hang around for a wee bit as well. Okay, Yeah, we send our board members GAgives toolkits every year with cut and paste messages, sample text, emails, and social posts. They rarely use them. That's totally true. This year for our anniversary, we reworked everything to provide less options and not overwhelm them. Yep, I think that's a really good point, right? If I think even if you didn't want to do a toolkit and you just did a board spotlight for everybody, and then you sent an email that had two sample text messages or two sample social messages that they could share. Like even without a toolkit, just an email, like send this text message. Here's a sample text message. I think is that equipping and empowering, right? Like even if you say, like just let people know that it's okay for them to reach out in a way that's comfortable for them, but that they need to reach out. And even if it's just sharing a social post or sending a text message, but I think that's a really good point. There's definitely a fine line. Honestly, like some of the toolkits I showed you examples of, probably too much in there, probably needs to be pared back. But I really think that the sample text message is the way. I think that's the way forward, is the sample text. And you can use it for a social DM as well. Because I rarely email anyone unless it's about work. And I think a lot of people have that thing, right? Like email is such a work thing and you spend so long all day slogging through your emails. It's like, I don't want to email my friends. Like, yeah. Um, Thanks all for joining. Oh, got an example here. Nice. Hey, Connie, I'm raising $500 for Because One Matters, an organization that helps kids in foster care. It would mean a lot if you could chip in or even just share the link. Anything helps. Thank you so much. I love that. That's so simple. It's so short and sweet. And it's effective. Like I love that. That's a really great example. Thank you for sharing that. Um, yeah, like something short and sweet. You could just say that, send that to your board members, ask them to, hi, insert name, send that out, especially if you've already set up their pages for them and you know how much their goals are. And you could just do that. Yeah, that's a great example. No, yeah, no problem. Sometimes it takes, you want to put more thought in it, Rhonda, no problem at all. I think that example from Andrea is great. I love that. Nice. Just sounding human. Like as an organization, I think we don't tend to say like, oh, it would mean a lot if you could just chip in or share the link. We might be like, oh, your donation would be so impactful in and like we just get very organizational about it. So I just love that it's informal. It doesn't sound like it's coming from an org because you want it to sound like it's coming from the board member. The King's Table would like your support to help raise $5,000 to aid individuals with food insecurities. Any amount is not too small. Together we can help end hunger. Can I count on you for support? Nice. I like that. Love that. Nice and short and sweet. Straight to the point. And I think text messages are the way. I think the email is dead. I know we're like a little at time, so if anyone wants to do more examples in the chat, please do. My contact info is here. Like, love to connect on LinkedIn and all that good stuff. If you could also take the survey, I think we have a link for the survey maybe, and then we also have the QR code on the screen here. But always like to hear your feedback, so we can improve our content and all that good stuff. And yeah, and then I'm happy to hang around if anyone has any other questions we didn't talk about today. Wish you all the best with your GAgives on Giving Tuesday campaigns. Would love to see you in the Certificate of Digital Fundraising, which we dropped in the chat earlier. Let me put that in the chat again if I can find the link. Yeah, would love to see you there in October if you would like. And oh, what am I doing? Here we go.
That was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you could be here. I'm so glad that was helpful. You are not alone in any board frustration. All boards have the same problems as something I have learned. But best of luck for year-end fundraising.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And we've got the survey link in the chat as well if anyone would like to take the survey. Thanks all for your contributions and for sharing. It was great to hear from everybody. Lots of good ideas. I think I've got some new ideas too from our conversation. And best of luck for all your year-end fundraising, not just GAgives. Tap out here.
I need to learn more about the match. Somehow I got a phone call and I didn't get
Yeah.
all the information about the beginning when you started talking about the match.
Yeah, I was basically suggesting that like one good option to involve your board in GAgives Day is to solicit a board matching gift from the board. So the idea would be that maybe not every board member, but the board members could sort of pitch in a gift size that is comfortable for them, and then together those gifts would add up to a larger amount that we could use as a matching gift. So, for example, if you had 10 board members and they all gave $100, and then we had $1,000 matching gift, and then what we can do when we start our campaign, we can tell our wider pool of donors that we have a board match and that all the donations they make will be matched dollar for dollar up to $1,000. So it's like the board's already committed to give that money,
I
but it's
don't
just
quite understand what you're matching. In other words, I'm used to company matches, you know.
so
And
basically like if you have like other donors that are not the board and they give $100, that the board matching gift is going to double their donation up to $1,000.
so
So
are
it's
you thinking that you get the board match first? Or I've gotten it where I've had a donor say, I'll give $8,000 if you get 8,000 from the board.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it could be like it's like sometimes it's called a pledge gift or a challenge gift. Like maybe it's like sometimes like that sounds like a challenge gift, right? So
Mhm.
like but the board's going to give you that money either way, but we're just using that money to incentivize others to give. So it makes folks feel like their donations being doubled, and matched by the board, but the board
Yes.
are the board are committing to that match. So it's not really like
Oh,
you
so
know,
you're getting the commitment of the board basically for
yeah,
matching something that you're going to get in the future from one other person, another donor.
or for like multiple donors,
Oh,
So if you
okay.
have, like because on the Mighty Cause, yeah, it's a little bit of like it's more just sort of using it as a tool to incentivize people to give, where like they feel like and I mean you can do sort of more challenge gifts, pledges, like where they're not going to give it to you if you don't meet the goal. But I think with a board, usually they're quite happy to commit to giving you that money either
Yeah.
way. But on the Mighty Cause platform, there's a tool where you can add that you have a matching gift. So, like
Ah,
on your page, it'll have your thermometer and your goal, and then it comes up with this little sort of hanging sign that says match live now. And then, so when
ah,
someone makes a gift, it's like, oh, you gave $100, the board has matched that, and it's become $200, and it sort of goes up to the total. And it's assuming that on your end, you've already secured the matching gift, like in your financial back end of things. So
okay.
it's more like a sort of like marketing tool or a little creative tool to sort of like convince people to give and make them feel like they're giving more. But the board's kind of pretty much pledged to give that money already.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. That clears it up better.
No, I'm sure
Yeah.
other people were thinking that too. Yeah, it's definitely more of a bit of a ploy. Like I know like yeah, corporate wise they probably like and yeah, like they want proper to match or to challenge people with it. I would hope the board would be happy to give you the funds either way and just sort of use it to incentivize the greater donor pool with that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for a good question. Anyone else have any questions? Still got a few folks hanging out on the call.
I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks.
Yes, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Very helpful training and
Yeah.
farewell.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for your contributions as well, Felicia.
You're welcome. Take care.
Take care. A few more folks on the call might just be hanging out.
Hey, this was super helpful as always. I appreciate your expertise and I will see you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Great to see you. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care. Anyone else have any questions?
I think we can wrap up if you're good with it.
Yeah, for sure. That was great.
Yeah, thanks, Fee, and thanks everybody. And we'll be sending links this week to recaps. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Lisa. Bye.
Thanks, Fee. Bye.